Hello everyone, as I said in my last video that after reviewing the Universal Monsters horror franchises throughout this month, I'll be reviewing miscellaneous horror movies. I'll be reviewing horror movies that came out in 1932, like Freaks for example. After Tod Browning's success with Dracula, he made a movie that no one expected. This one is a debate on whether or not consider it a horror movie or not. Nothing really horrific happens up until the end of the movie. But what the heck, I'm talking about it anyway for this year's horror movie review month. Whether people consider this a horror movie or not, it's still a great movie that has aged very well the last 90 years. This movie ruined the career reputation of filmmaker Todd Browning. After this movie's failure, he did not direct much after that. He only directed 4 more movies. Because of this movie, his career went downhill. Audiences did not get or understand or gravitate towards its first viewing. Years later, it was rewatched, now considered a classic. Despite being a classic today and being re-released decades later, the movie has lost missing scenes that were destroyed. This movie's been voted one of the most dangerous movies. I don't know, I've seen more dangerous and crazy movies than this one, for instance. Todd Browning said he based this movie on his own experience growing up in the circus. Before Todd Browning was a filmmaker, he was a circus performer. When I first saw this movie, it amazed me these were not actors, no makeup special effects. These were real-life circus performers, and they did such a great job for not having any acting experience prior to this movie. It's true they say, you don't need to go to acting school to become an actor, you just need to base your experience from real life to make it realistic and authentic performance. Also, this movie was an inspiration for American Horror Story Freak Show. The circus performer is amazed and shocked when you see one guy with no arms and legs and light a cigarette with his mouth. Really impressed me. But at the same time, I don't smoke. Also seeing a guy with, no legs walk with his arms like that. The Pinhead Pip character looks identical to Naomi Grossman's character from American Horror Story. My father was just telling me recently that despite what you saw in the Pinhead Pip character, in real life she was a dude. The only actor I recognized in this movie was Wallace Ford, who went on to star into 2 Universal Monster Mummy sequels. Him and Veves were the heroes of this movie. They were the only human beings in the movie who cared for Hanz and the rest of the freaks. Frida and Venice's conversation give a good point how women have always worried since the beginning of time. And then again, everyone worries. Worrying is a normal thing. We sympathize for Frida. She is faithful and loyal to Hanz. She worries for him that he could be marrying the wrong person, which he's right about. When you watch this movie, you need to be in the right mindset to realize it's not a real scary movie where the circus performers are the killers. They are not. It's about what is normal. The answer is it does not exist. We are all born different, unique, and God created us in unique, mysterious ways. Instead of being scared, you'll learn to like the freaks, and they grow on you, wishing that you could be friends with them. This movie can also be looked and analyzed on people who have different disabilities, being born with rare genetic disabilities. You have this little guy, Hanz, played by Harry Earls, who wants to marry this beautiful tall woman, Cleopatra, who is an acrobatic, but she only marries Hanz for his money because he is rich. She plans on to kill him to inherit his money and run away with her real lover, Hercules. I'll never forget when watching Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments documentary in my horror and sci-fi club. Comedian Gilbert Gottfried was in that documentary who I once met in 2013. He said in the documentary, how many circus performers are rich and really compared to this movie is beyond anyone's guess. Cleopatra is a greedy bitch and she got what she deserved in the end. And her lover Hercules gets his punishment for trying to poison Hanz for his money. Cleopatra did not love Hanz at all. The biggest moral message of this movie is not to treat someone different no matter what you look like. That the circus freak performers are the real human beings inside out, unlike real human beings. That's right, you heard me said that. You root for Hanz to be saved by his friends from Cleopatra. Spoiler alert right here, if you've not seen this movie, stop the video right here. The ending climax where Hanz's friends save him, that's where it's a horror atmosphere. The thunder and lightning, chasing Cleopatra. The freak song, Oogle Gobble, We Will Make You One of Us, is teaching Cleopatra a lesson to be like one of them, and her punishment. In the end, her punishment is Hanz's friends turned Cleopatra into a freak. This movie has one of the saddest, heartbreaking, happy endings. The first horror movie that made me cry. Hanz refuses to see his friends and Frida because he feels guilty for not realizing how love was right in front of his eyes, unsure if Frida will forgive him and take him back. But in the end, Frida forgives Hanz. What's crazy about this, in real life, Hanz and Frida, played by Harry Earls and Daisy Earls, were brother and sister in real life. I can't imagine how awkward that was. Thankfully, they did not kiss each other in this movie in the end. If they made this movie today, they would not have a brother and sister play lovers in a movie. Whether you classify this as a horror or not, it's still a great movie. Another great horror drama with no gore, also happy set any emotional ending. Despite, as I mentioned before, it's a classic today being re-released decades later, The movie has lost missing scenes that were destroyed in a fire after this film's release when it was a box office failure. Hopefully someday they will find those missing scenes and restore this movie. This is one movie I'd like to see restored, and curious to see how the film originally came out back in 1932 for curiosity that people considered disturbing and could not sit through in the movie theaters back in 1932.
I forgot to mention, this is filmmaker Guillermo del Toro's one of his favorite films.
So that was my review of Freaks. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell to get the latest updates on my YouTube channel, and stay tuned for tomorrow for another horror movie review.